Hello, hello. So I am here right now. Mandee is not here. She's MIA right now, but she'll probably pop in, or maybe she won't pop in because something happened. And so we're all going to give love to Mandee. But I still was like, I'm sitting here, so why not come on? And then I was like, what the heck am I going to talk about? Because Mandee usually pulls cards and she does lots of other fun, amazing stuff, uses her pendulum and does all those fun things for us so we know exactly where we're at in life. And also, she is like the queen of momming us and holding us and loving us and doing all these amazing other things and inviting spirit into our lives in those ways. That's not Crystal necessarily. Crystal's a little bit more spicy. So we're going to try to hold it down. And if Mandee isn't here, then she's not here. Hi, Sophia. Hi, Mandee. I knew she would come.
I am here. Hello.
I knew you would come. I was like, I'll fill up the airspace and figure out what the hell to talk about. But I figured either you would be here and stuff was happening, or something happened. And so I was like, let's just give Mandee love.
Nope, just very full moon right now. Just like got home from work, got shifted real quick, like got settled. I'm like, and I'm gonna be late. Oh wow.
Yeah, it is cool. First off, you know me, I don't give two hoots. I'll talk to anybody. And so I will talk to all of these wonderful people that decide to come in. Hi, Terry. And so we have Sophia and Terry so far today. And so, yeah, I was just explaining to them, I was like, we'll talk. I don't care. You guys want to talk about something? Let's talk about something. But Mandee mentioned full moon energy. I was actually going to ask how people survived this last full moon. Like, how did it treat everybody? I know Terry had a wonderful weekend because she got to see her daughter get married. Hi, Ben. I love you. Thank you. You are awesome too. How's the full moon? I didn't really experience anything. As a matter of fact, I kind of forgot we had a full moon, and I feel bad about that.
Why?
Well, because I like to talk to the moon, and I like to sit out and bask in the moon, but apparently I didn't need that. So she got Reiki certified during the peak of the full moon. Well, if that's not the coolest, witchiest experience of my life, I hope you danced also. It just sounds amazing.
I love that. It's full moon in Aries right now, which is fun and exciting. Hey, Jen. Hey, Ben. Oh, I'm so excited you guys are here. Sophia's laughing at your comment. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's full moon in Aries, which happened yesterday afternoon around, I think, like 5:30 in the afternoon Eastern time. And it's an interesting, like, they're like saying it's very like much a time to surrender to things, which a lot of times that's how full moon energy is. But like with it being in Aries can be a little bit warrior like and a little fiery and like heated energy. And it's important to allow yourself to surrender a little bit. If you find yourself like fighting a good fight too much, or things are like coming to a point with something, it's time to take a breath into that and be like, all right, maybe this isn't my battle. I know myself, I've experienced that with a couple things with this full moon and whatnot. And sometimes it's okay to say, you know what? I put my energy as hard as I could into something and it's just not flowing right now. So maybe I'm going to take it back a little bit and transmute it into something else and decide like what feels most in alignment for me. And there's a lot of that with like wrapping up Mercury retrograde. We're just like in that last little post shadow of it right now. And we have my dog Penny's trying to sit under my bed. There you go. I'm sitting under my chair. There's your bed. I have to keep a dog bed at my feet for my doggies. And so a lot of people are just like being like, okay, what can I do to finally finish releasing whatever was coming up for reevaluation during retrograde? What can I do to realign myself and refocus? And like that final release is coming in with this Aries full moon, and it can be a little bit heated, a little bit irritable. But it's also just there for everyone's highest good. And it's been absolutely beautiful the past couple nights here on the East Coast. And that's been wonderful to watch.
Well, see, now that you say all of that, I don't know full moons. We talk about that all the time, and I don't know why I don't pay attention. It's just like, whatever, I'll go with the flow, and if it takes me here, it takes me here. And as you said that, I was like, well, we have Ben here, and he could probably really resonate with the moodiness, the ups and the downs, and the, yes, I'm okay, and the, hey, I haven't reflected on this in a while. Let's talk. And so there's all this like energy coming in, but it's really for the highest good because it's putting things out in the open, I think, for everybody the way that they need to be brought into the open. And I guess with whoever wants to hear it or whoever wants to sit with it. And I have experienced that over the past like week. So that's actually kind of cool. Thank you for explaining it, Mandee.
It's part of the natural energies and like that letting go. It's easier said than done, but it's so important. And especially while we're finishing all of our reevaluations here after Mercury retrograde, it's just like basically where do we want to put our energy and how, and honoring, what is coming up and how are we authentically feeling when we're not fully speaking our truths about things. It feels unaligned, you feel a little stifled, you get resentful sometimes, passive aggressive tendencies come out, all kinds of things. So it's just so important to speak your truth. And if you can't do that comfortably for some reason, maybe you're just not ready to. Maybe it's something you need to talk to someone else about and it's really important, but you don't know how or what to say. Like just writing it down, letting Grandmother Moon take a look at it. You can write it down. You can read it out loud. You can burn it. You can bury it. You can release it. Anything like that, or like a little voice memo or recording, anything to really, or share with a confided friend. Anything you can do to make you feel like you're releasing a little bit of that energy will help so much right now, especially if you can't actually or aren't ready to really let it out.
I think that's also super important because you deal with a lot of people who are coming to you from abuse or people who you've dealt with in the past and stuff like that. And that's one of the main things, that they don't feel like they have a voice or they can't speak or they can't say these things in those modes. And so sometimes we stifle ourselves for a long time. And I don't think we really pay attention to what that does to us because once again, we have to keep getting back on that bike to life. And like we just have to keep going through and pedaling through. We don't really have a time to refocus. And then once it goes poof, sometimes we don't really know sometimes what that is or what it represents. And it sounds like that's a lot of what this moon is getting to the bottom of what certain things represent in your life and where they stemmed from the past.
And taking action on it. Like
Awesome.
Aries is very action oriented. So though it's a release, it's also a release for like taking action on something that we're feeling like, vibing through us.
I laughed for two reasons. Sophia said that she feels like her people are annoyed with me speaking my truth. They probably are.
You can always write it down in a journal or an ego journal or whatever you got to do.
Mandy's the one that taught me ego journal a long time ago, and boy, do I have one. And it houses all of my deepest thoughts. And I'm just going to tell you, when I die, if somebody finds that, I said what I flipped and said. It was my ego journal. You can't use that against me. And Beth asked who the creepy guy was behind me. That's my Charlie. He is an old Dow from like the 1920s. I think he's not from the 1920s, but yeah, he's my Charlie Dow.
Is it a puppet?
He is. He's a ventriloquist doll. Yeah.
Do you do that?
No, I just wanted the creepy. I have a whole story behind this doll. I was like, it was about 25 years ago when I read this story about his person, and it was like Edgar Bergen was his ventriloquist person. And I saw this thing where he used a real live boy for his dummy. Come to find out that story was completely false, and I found that out later, but then I still wanted the doll because I was like, that's the coolest story ever. So I wanted a doll forever. And we moved here and we went to a thrift store and I saw him sitting back on a shelf and I was like, no way. I saw his little feet sticking out and I was like, it's got to be. And I pulled him down. I was like, I'm taking him home. He's mine.
That's divine, just for you.
So I was like, yes, I got my creepy Charlie doll. And I just love him because I got him his top hat, his monocle. So he's dapper now. Suits all pressed. It's wonderful.
That's so awesome. I love it.
So that's Charlie. Terry says, Crystal, I watched your video about Kurt. I don't know if you saw my message or not. Not yet. I have not. When you were describing his life, you were describing my life. Please pull a card for me, Mandee, and thanks. And because that is what she's doing while we're here, I'm going to pull up that comment because Mandy's getting ready to get out her beautiful, lovely cards.
All right. Angels for Terry. Am I good to go, Crystal?
I'm going to have you do it first. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow. All right, Terry, I don't know what is going on exactly up in your life, but you've got number 1, transformation. This is Archangel Zedekiel, and it says, "Thank you, Zedekiel, for supporting me to transform from my past challenges." This is really like kind of an alchemy card. This is when we're truly changing the way we're showing up and responding. It has a lot to do with emotional maturity and also just like releasing things that aren't serving you anymore, like we were talking about with this moon, but also like holding it, turning it into wisdom, turning it into knowledge. It's truly like a pot of gold within you. Then you also get at the same time Archangel Azrael, which is change and transition. Thank you, Azrael, for leading me safely through this change. So whatever is happening, whatever changes and transformations and transitions are going on, they are happening for you. And it's really nice because you have 2 incredible angels right there supporting you, holding you through it, through the gateways. Some of it's internal and some of it's external. And the internal way that you show up to all these external changes are what's going to really be where a lot of your magic is right now and where a lot of the cool moments happen. And then last but not least, you get Archangel Michael. You are protected. Thank you, Michael, for surrounding me with your protective light. And this goes for you, Terry, or for anyone when you just need a moment or you feel like you need some protection or some love, or you're moving or changing or shifting or whatever it is, you can ask the angels to surround you in white and blue light and protect you. White and blue light is Archangel Michael's colors. He is there for everybody all the time. He has an incredible legion of people and army, an army of angels, really. And it's interesting because people are always afraid they're gonna burden, whether it's God or Jesus or the angels or whoever it is, and like, oh, I don't want to pray too much or ask for too much. They literally have superpowers. They literally can transform time and space and realms and different things, and have incredible helping energy that can be there for you no matter what. So don't be afraid to ask. And I hope that supports you a little bit, Terry, on your path right now. And just know that all this change is happening for you, and your angels are proud of you and they're standing with you through it.
So I think Mandee's going to have more to say in about 2.5 seconds.
Okay.
Because she says, "Crystal, I'm in absolute tears. I have been feeling lost for a long time. I just don't feel like I make a difference to anyone. I feel like I just can't get across to some people how important they are to me. But I do have to say that since I was like, oh, I read this and I was like, oi. But I do have to say that since I've been listening to you, I'm starting to see that this is my problem. Please don't hear me say that when I say these things. Yes, we have to be responsible for our own issues and problems, but we also have to acknowledge that some of those triggers and some of those issues, we have to kind of take time and pause and dig them out of ourselves too. It's not like a get up today, spicy buttercup, and do your best and don't whatever. No, that's not how it is. We can't just pick up the pieces overnight. It didn't happen overnight, so we can't expect perfection out of ourselves ever, really, but specifically overnight. So she says, my emotions have been all over the place. Okay, enough of my pity party. So I will just say thank you. I think you're being so hard on yourself. And that's why I said Mandee's going to have about things to say in about 2.5, because you're being so hard on yourself, Terry.
Yeah, you got to have that grace. I'm with you, Crystal. And that's just it. It is all our own shit. We do attract it all in some way or another. There's truth to that. But like I said, it's about how you respond to it, how you show up. There's certain things that you can't avoid, or you have to continue to have relationships with, or if it's at work, you got to take a while before you find something different. And it's hard when you feel that alone and when you feel, that down about things. At the same time, as someone who's been there before, I know Crystal's been there. I know many people watching, have been there. And it's also a time where we do really get to find ourselves, and we get to find spirit, and we get to find our truest friends and those who can hear us and want to be there for us. And at the same time, we get to practice how we show up and who we give our energy to. And so it's not fun or easy, but we're both bowing to you. And thank you for continuing to show up. Thank you for continuing to give, this whole Earth School thing in life a try, and for doing your best to take responsibility, because where the magic lies is how we can't, like, it's extreme, but like if someone comes and randomly hits you in the face and like you have a huge scar on your face or something, like it's really hard to be like, okay, like I deserve that, I attracted that to me. But in some way or another, we have an opportunity or a sliding door moment there to how we respond to it. Okay, like this happened and it was terrible, but I'm not going to let it create fear in my life every single day. I'm going to have to like live with this scar and see what that looks like and have a different kind of attitude about it or whatever it is. And it's the same thing in our heart, in our mind. And it doesn't mean it's okay. But what it does do is provide us opportunity and strength to learn ourselves more and to become even more resilient and to find our truest tribe. And we are not for everyone.
Right. Ben and I, everything Mandee said, I'm only adding to it just like literally this much. Ben and I have therapy. We see a therapist, marriage therapist, whatever. And I told her, I said, and this is for me and this is for Ben, this is for everybody. It's a fine, fine line between like empathy and like, holding somebody back and kind of being too much and giving too much love. And I think we have to like find that fine line in ourselves too and hold ourselves accountable, but also understand that on the opposite end of that, of the very, very hairline opposite end of that, is we also have to simultaneously meet ourselves with love. And so even though these things may be what we're bringing to us, it's being brought to us because of things that we didn't understand were being placed in us from the moment we were born until now. And so that's where that fine line goes in between. And I love you guys and I'm grateful that you shared that and you're wonderful, but I think you need to be nicer to yourself too. So where's that coming from? That's when I always tell people to take a deeper step, get under there. Why do I feel like I have to prove myself to other people? Or why do I feel like they don't know how much I love them? Like, where is that coming from? Kind of. I know there's a lot of triggers in me, specifically from my childhood, that come to the surface. And that's kind of where my trust issues come in. And that's where this comes in. And there's all these things that are housed in that tiny version of Crystal. And she needs to be heard too. So what are your needs? Where did it stem from? And what is the deeper meaning? And so when I say it's my fault, I don't mean that to be in that way. Please don't take it that way, because we really have to love ourselves through that and really understand there's something more in there. Deeper. It's always deeper. I love you guys. I want to just take a moment and be like, I'm so sorry. I need to hug you because that's what you need.
I think is so supportive is Sophia made a comment and she said, I've met so many cool people in the last few weeks. As soon as I released expectations of my familial relations, it's like my local community and online community really stepped up and filled these perceived gaps. It's been beautiful. Mm-hmm. And there is such a thing as soul family. And even, the families we choose to incarnate with, some of them are rough and they give us some traumas and some dramas. And we still choose that because it does make us stronger, more evolved, more conscious in the end of it, more forgiving, more whole, and eventually all around to unconditional love in an even bigger way. But in the meantime, it's so important that we do first connect with ourselves and our spirit guides. And then what happens is we really get blessed with other connections that are out there to support us in the meantime. So we're just sending you a lot of love, Terry, and we're grateful that you're here and you're holding space. And Sophia, thank you for sharing that with us, because it's true. And that's what happens a lot of the time. As soon as you release that expectation, then all of a sudden different things come up in the most magical ways that you couldn't even ask for. You couldn't even make up.
Terry, I love you. I'm sorry. She said that she doesn't know how to love herself, and I don't understand why people love me. I feel like that's a deeper thing. And I'm just going to go on the verge and say Crystal is always an advocate of mental health and therapy. Okay, I'm going to put that out there. So whatever works for you. But I'm also going to say there are a lot of people to turn to, talk to, and also look towards, and different books and different things that can really help you with some. I can't tell you one of I don't know. Ben has seen me in some of my lowest times. In 2012, when I opened up to spirit, I literally spent a week in a catatonic state. I didn't eat, I didn't drink, I didn't sleep. I just laid there and cried until I had no tears to cry. And it was right after that moment that I contacted somebody, because I wasn't right. And that person that I contacted led me to you. That's why I'm sitting here. So I can't tell people enough how much the ugliest moment of your life and your biggest lack of understanding of yourself and why your brain does what it does can literally lead you to the most wonderful, amazing things for yourself. But you have to take those steps to understand it differently. I still struggle with immense moments of depression. I get in deep depression sometimes. It's very much fewer farther in between, and that's because spirit loves me and I'm grateful. But I also understand that in those moments of my deep depression, it's not about the moments of the deep depression where I'm taking all those spaces. It's about the shorter span of time that it takes me to get out of it, because I realize and remember in those moments I love myself and that I'm worthy of being here because I am still here. And then on top of it, it's also about those moments that you climb out and you feel that sun on your face for the first time in forever, and your body is just met with the most beautiful warmth. It's that reason. Those are the reasons we spend this much time in our whole entire lifespan. Take those moments and take them and shake them down and look at all the bigger, brighter moments in between. That's the beauty in that. And that's what I take with me when I'm in those deep moments of crystal depression that only exist because I don't believe in myself. So remember that. There's so much more outside of that darkness in those moments. And if you can remember and retrain your brain in those moments to think about those light beams, those little light specks throughout your life, whatever those things are, write them down so you have a book to go back to every time you get into those mindsets, and sit with yourself and affirm those beautiful moments that already took place in time and how many other moments that you might miss by being in that state. That's the only thing I can give in the form of advice, which is why I say mental health therapy, taking care of ourselves, but you're not alone. I don't know what you go through in your moments of depression, but I know what I go through. And I cannot tell you it is the worst experience of your life when you get in those things. But I can attest to you, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, and the people around you love and support you. I've learned recently that the reason why I wasn't accepting of love to myself and I couldn't feel it myself was because I had a lot of walls that had to be broke down for me to really recognize who I was and what I deserved. And so I would just take some steps to maybe retrain your brain or learn how to retrain your brain to see those moments differently.
Amen, sister. And I cannot express it enough too, to just have grace. Like, none of us were taught to love ourselves. None of us in this society, in our religions, in our households, and whatever country we came from. Like, it was not something that was widely taught. And in fact, so much of our programming, which we talk about all the time, is really meant to force us to operate on guilt, shame, criticism, and fear, which Crystal and I learned so much about in You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, which we have linked a free YouTube version right here in the show. Every time Crystal posts it, it has a whole list of resources, which we talk all the time about. And that's one that I listen to all the time myself. I recommend my clients to listen to it because it takes a really long time to start reprogramming your brain and to go from I hate myself to I love myself. And it takes a lot of work and positive affirmations and practicing the pause and giving ourselves grace and joy and love and peace. And it's not comfortable at first. So hang in there and know that there are ways to do it if you just keep showing up for yourself each day.
Absolutely. Andrea says, would love to have a card pulled for how to deal with the funk I am going through this past month. I can't seem to pull myself out of this.
All right. I'm going to pull another angel card.
Mandee just got out of work, guys. She's a busy gal.
Sorry. I yawn.
No. You yawn away, my dear. You let it all out.
It's a release. Okay. So Andrea, you just got some cool cards. First of all, you got studying and learning. Study and learning. Thank you, angels, for helping me to see that every day is a learning day. Not only is this an opportunity to kind of peel back and zoom out and kind of look at things, especially when you're in a bit of a funk. Things are already kind of hazy as it is. So it's a good time to zoom out and take a look at stuff. They're also showing for you, though, diving into a deep rabbit hole of something that excites you and you can't stop thinking about might be a really nice tool to help you deal with your funk. They're showing there's all kinds of things you're really interested in. There's all kinds of things you kind of put on the back burner because you haven't had time in the past to do it. But this might be time to be like, you know what? I am in a funk. What are some things that light me up? Things that light you up, or things that bring you joy, make you feel happy or at peace or loved. Like this, literally lighting a candle lights me up. All of a sudden I can breathe. I feel soothed. Even in my house, I really like to have like dimmer lights on, like that aren't super bright. That lights me up. Spending some time in nature with my dogs. Start small. You then get count your blessings. Thank you, universe and angels, for bringing blessings into my life. It's so important too when we're in funks to, even if it's our worst day, to just take a breath and go over 10 things you're grateful for. At any point you can. I try to do that, especially when I'm upset or in a bad mood or not feeling good or sad. I'm like, okay, let me bring myself back in here. It's so important to feel. It's so important to release, but then it is so important to count your blessings. And they're kind of giggling and showing, Andrea, there are so many things that you are really grateful for, that you love. And even though you're in a bit of a funk, there are still things and people and animals and whatnot and stuff in your life that will just bring a smile to your face no matter what's going on. And it's important to sink into that energy and focus on that when you can. Then last but not least, you get the inner voice. Thank you, angels, for guiding me through my inner voice. You are incredibly intuitive at this time. Your intuition is super strong. It's doesn't necessarily feel like it because it has been a little funky, but as we move into the eclipse season here and the energy over the next few weeks, there's just going to be a lot of things that come into confirmation for you. And you're going to be like, you know what? I really knew that. And I already had this feeling about this, or, oh, I was so right. And it's important to listen to that and to honor that. Just know that this funk will come to an end. And what you can do to support it is count your blessings. And if you can, find something of interest. Find a book you can't put down. Find something like you want to study and learn, whether it's making candles or learning Reiki or just reading a good book or even, watching a show or a movie. Just something that excites you and brings in your focus at this time. And you will get through this. It's been a rough month, but you are coming out of it and you are a sensitive soul and it's okay. Have grace with yourself. That is our theme tonight in this full moon energy.
I love it. I have a question, Mandee. When you're in the modes of like deep, dark, whatever, do you ever struggle with or have problems receiving spirit for yourself in those moments?
It's interesting. There's been times where for me it feels a little shut down, like at times a little. And then all of a sudden something will happen and I'm like, I couldn't be closed off if I wanted to.
Right. And so I
all
noticed that too.
I'm like, well, all right. Or suddenly you're of service. Like you're walking down the street and you're having a shit day or you're in a lot of pain or something's going on and, things are falling apart in your inner world or whatever. But then at the same time, you're like, then all of a sudden you realize like, oh, all of a sudden there's like an emergency. Something happens like, somebody's going to pull out in front of like an old lady crossing the street and you get this crazy feeling and you're like all of a sudden back in action. You're like, stop. And then the lady stops and then the car goes by and you're like, whoa, I was just like brought back in for a reason, even in my own weird funk. Like a lot of times it's something bigger like that. And it's being of service outside yourself when you feel disconnected. And then those big things come in. But I have to say, I'm really grateful. Like, for me, especially because I've gotten to such a point in my consciousness, and I'm at such a point in like, I can't let myself get too caught up in my ego to distract myself from spirit anymore as much. Like what would happen is it's like you go from the 3D to the 5D and then back down to the 3D. And when you're kind of like, all right, I'm caught up in all this stupid shit that doesn't even matter and all these storylines that don't even exist right now. Like what is going on? And then you pull yourself out of it. But I do have to do conscious work and like do my tapping and do my yoga and drink my juices and like make sure that I'm maintaining that relationship. And the other thing is I talk to my angels all the time. I talk to spirit all the time. And I think that keeps me open to receiving as well, because it's a give and take relationship. There's been a couple times, but even like, honestly, like even on my worst 2017, when like all of us light workers died, like even on my worst day, I was still like, I never felt closer to spirit. Like I was like on death's door in many ways and all kinds of stuff and half blind from being on Lyrica, all kinds of shit. And even then it was like, it was louder for me. But a lot of people will tell me that they just don't feel connected with spirit a lot, or when they're in a funk or something's happening. And I think a lot of times it's because we've gotten too stressed out. We're focusing on too many other details, and spirit speaks in the subtle realms and in the slower, subtle vibrations. And so when we're like in overwhelm of any sense, we can't be open to receiving. So I do my best to like clear my, I feel my overwhelm when I have to. I scream if I have to. I, get sad if I have to. And then I just push it out and I let myself come back into balance. And then that's when I'm open to receiving again. So there's been times, but then it's been those times. It's just funny because I think I'm not. And then there it is. And we have to remember too, last but not least on that topic, that like half the month we are in new moon energy and half the month we're in full moon releasing energy. And there's times where the veil's a little thinner. There's times where it's a little thicker. And the times where you're not getting the answers that you want, it's because it's for a reason. And it's because we're meant to be self-reliant. It's because there's something else coming our way. It's because we're meant to be a little more patient. So that's my nutshell on all of that. What about you?
It's the same for me. It used to be so much worse. Like 2018, I think, was the last time that I had what I called the dark night of the soul, because it was just like I was done with everything. It was horrible. And so that was the last time. And I would have expected spirit doesn't always, they're not as loud in those moments, but they don't separate from my life. And what I mean by that is I'm getting it different. Like instead of talking to me and giving me like, snappy comebacks and such throughout my life and all those beautiful moments, what they do is they talk through numbers, or they talk through moments, or they talk through somebody else in different ways that's so subtle that I really have to be paying attention. And so I've kind of reflected on those moments and just thought to myself, well, they've been teaching us. So I look at life as like, school. So we have tests, we have pop quizzes that we have to do. And those pop quizzes are those little moments where there might be a small reaction or something like that. And we're like, whew, crisis averted. But then those tests, those are the ones that get worse and worse and worse for us. And they're those bigger experiences that we have to kind of deal with. And to me, that's kind of what it is. And so they're just like, okay, did you take good notes? Because girl, today is the day. And they can't give me those answers. And so they kind of step back and they watch and they wait and see how I receive, and they see how I go through the steps of doing it. And this move was something that was a big test. It was like, I don't know, man. It was like end of school year blowout for me. And I did pretty well. Like, I mean, yeah, I was frustrated and mad and like, what the crap is happening? Do I live in an alternate universe here? What's going on? But at the same time, I met myself every single day and said, you know what? At the end of the day, it's just a truck full of shit. It just is what it is. And it will either be good or it will be bad. And we will figure it out when it happens, and just let myself be. And allowed myself to still meet with you guys and with Mandee, and allowed the questions and the answers and all the things that needed to come to the surface. And like, I'm good. Everything ended up just fine. Spirit had it. Nothing's lost in the eyes of God, blah, blah. It just is. And so once you kind of start to talk to them more and really receive them and trust that they're a part of your life, it gets easier every time. So
we had a cool quote the other day that said something like, praying is when you talk to God and meditating is when God talks to you.
I saw that too.
I liked that. And it's that yin and yang energy. And it's so funny because even when you don't think, it's like things will come up, they will come up huge, especially when you think you're blocked. And only if it's for the highest good and only if it's needed. And a lot of times we're putting so much pressure on ourselves. And it's so important. If you don't feel like you're super connected, great. I'm off the clock today. Let me go have some fun. I'm going to go be and celebrate or be in nature or like enjoy my body or do whatever. And then all of a sudden you'll realize, oh, wow, I'm super in tune. As soon as you like cut that cord a little bit and just let yourself come back into presence, that's when it comes flooding back in.
Yep. Sophia says, I'm literally making candles right now. You said make candles, do this. And she's like, I'm literally making candles. Ben says, I am being drawn to ask, Mandee, could you pull a card for me?
Of course, Mr. Ben. And actually, I'm continuing with the angel cards because They're feeling it tonight.
They are. They're beautiful too.
Ben.
I love these.
They're great. This is Kyle Gray. Yeah. Oh, Ben. Okay. First of all, you got Archangel Gabriel, speak your truth. Thank you, Gabriel, for helping me to speak my truth with integrity. Truth speaking is a cool thing. And like I said, it can be done out loud directly to someone. It can be as simple as just saying yes, saying no, not saying yes when you really mean no, things like that, getting pulled in like the wrong direction. And also just like being honest and speaking from the heart. If this goes for anybody, if you say what's on your heart and mind and like do things based on what your heart wants most and not really what other people think or might think, you really can't go wrong. And it's when you're truly doing it when your heart wants most, not your mind, not your ego, but what your actual heartstrings are pulling you towards. It's almost always right. And like we were talking about in the beginning, if it's something, even if it's your beautiful wife and you feel like you can't speak your truth to her, do what you got to do to transmute it. Write a letter, burn it after, do anything you got to do to let that energy out at this time. And it will support you. And not only that, it's safe for you too. And they're showing you doing it, not even from a place of ego or anger or anything, just yes or no. I'm hearing a lot of yep and no. Just simple, like that's what's in alignment and that's not what's in alignment. And it's okay to trust that. Then you get your second card is manifesting miracles. Archangel Orion. Thank you, Orion, for manifesting miracles into my world. The angels are just showing you've had a lot on your heart and mind, a lot of like heaviness in your higher heart. And it's important right now to trust that things are going to come together, that things are going to work out for the highest good of all. And you truly are manifesting miracles. My favorite definition of a miracle is a change in perception. And that's from A Course in Miracles. And it's true. Like when we suddenly shift the way we think about something, it's an absolute miracle. And when we shift that perception or perspective in something, it's amazing what can happen. And they're just showing you actually have some really cool miracles coming your way. And then also a lot of aha moment miracles coming your way too. And then last but not least, you got connect with music. Make sure that you're doing all you can right now while things are a little stressed, while things are a little strange, while you're wanting to express truth, to let music soothe you, whether it's playing a song and crying to it, whether it's playing a song and dancing like crazy or drum. They're showing you like playing air drums. I don't know if you're into that, but like, it's so funny. I'm just seeing you like letting some music move you at this time. And if you can, perhaps actually play an instrument, drop into some guitar, drop into some piano, drop into something new and different and allow music to soothe you and to be there for you. I really hope that helps and supports you, Ben.
Thank you, Mandee. We are going to now, Mandee, are you Reiki certified? Like, okay, so I'm going to let you do this one because I am not Reiki certified. I'm not. I'm an energy healer differently, so I'm going to let you take this one.
Question: getting Reiki certified means a Reiki master attunes you, which is a quick ceremony. My ego is coming in. Oh, let me just a sec. My ego is coming in and asking, was that real? Am I connected? Or did I just pay money, laugh out loud? I love the person I met with and totally trust her, but I'm like, is this real? So I love that. And here's the cool thing about Reiki and the spiritual arts and all that stuff. I think any one of us, if we sit in integrity and we truly practice, we could easily self-teach ourselves and self-attune ourselves for Reiki. Reiki, for me, the way I like to teach it and I've been taught is basically you are tuning into spirit and the divine and your higher self and whoever you're hanging out with higher self. And you're just allowing that beautiful divine white light to channel through you. It channels through you and it goes into the person and gives them the boost wherever they're needing it most at that time. And it's really important to, it's kind of funny because like, it's all about setting that intention and taking that time to like go and sit and to be integral with the energies that we're working with the lessons that we're learning, and with the space that we're holding. So I think when we get attuned by our by a teacher. Like, I love my Reiki teacher. She's incredible. And I really felt like such energy come in with her. And it was so funny. Every time I sat down, like even for practice stuff, like my head was like shaking back and forth, like in between. And she's like, that's just because of our connection. Like, that's amazing. And like all kinds of things were happening. And so I think that it's beautiful, and I think it's important, and I think it's exciting. And I think that it's like an opportunity, like I said, to connect in with the divine and hold soul space. And at the same time, I don't think it was a waste of money, but I do think it's something that you could have fostered on your own too and conjured up that same type of energy. But what happens is when we go and hold that intentional space, it brings in a whole nother level of it. And you have several people truly sitting in purity, allowing this light to come through. So I think it was totally worth it. I think it was incredible, but we all have that within us. And we all have the ability to tune into that or attune ourselves to it whenever we want. But I also always encourage people to take Reiki classes, to learn and to invest in themselves and invest in the person who's practicing it and there to teach it. And there's always another like level or position or something that you can do. But it is real. And it's also something that you will realize that you'll be able to hold that space and do too.
It's really, really cute because when people talk about Reiki, I'm like, well, first off, I didn't get paid to do it. Spirit was just like, we're going to do this. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And so that's what I did. But I feel like when you have somebody that you trust and you honor and you hold the space with, like actually feel good with, I think that that's like where the magic happens. So, I mean, that's what I would say in the same sense with anything. If you can feel connected, the connection's happening, and that means that they're actually doing something for the higher good. And sometimes we come across Reiki people who are like, I'm really choosy with who touches my energy. I'm really weird about that. Like, it sounds so stupid when I say that to people. They look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, no, I'm not letting anybody rub up against my energy fields. It just feels so gross.
So many people are very protective and very like that. And I'm somebody who's a teacher. So like I have a lot of people who are still working on their energy, practice on me, and something you can do. Angels, please surround me in white and blue light and protect me. Please help the practitioner and my higher self to just pass through the energies of the highest good. Of course, you can always say no. But if you're in one of those classes and you're kind of like, all right, let me experiment with this a little bit. I can see our Sophia being like, okay, let me like practice with the crazy girl or whatever it is. No, I'm just kidding. And so, it's important to do that because we can learn so much from one another. And it's also okay to say no. And it's okay to like be like, that doesn't feel in alignment for me. Oh, I like Sophia's comment. I definitely feel like I was already naturally in me. I guess now I just have this community to learn from. My hands are always so hot now, and I have an outlet for that energy. I really do think that it helps you to get activated even more. I do think it's possible for you to do it on your own. But like I said, when you do it with other people or you hold that space, it can happen quicker and you learn so much. So yes and no. And I think it's great to invest in that for yourself. Oh,
I want to say hi, Heather.
I was going to say, we got to go back up because we have some other comments.
It was like we had Heather, we had Terry that said, yay, Ben. And Beth says, I say every night, thank you for the guidance. Thank you for your guidance. I want to pass. Sorry, this test. I can't read. I'm so sorry, Beth. It's me. It's not you. Don't ever want to do this one ever again. Let's get her done. I say that a lot. I'm like, okay, so like my earth clock is, I'm not saying like this earth clock is done. I've got some time here left on this planet, obviously. But at the same time, I feel like there should be like a heaven beach, where you take a moment in your spiritual realm instead of being all up in the spiritual business. You should be able to be like in a sort of an ego state so we can feel and touch and, have that warmth meet our skin and all that other fun stuff, but like on the beach and not have to life at all. I want that moment. I want, I'm on a rest period from this nonsense because this one's been a doozy. Great one. But I'm with you, Beth. I do not want to repeat this cycle ever. Let's get her done this time. So I'm with you.
Get her done.
Ben says, wow, thank you, Mandee. That was right on with what's going on with me. Terry says, thank you, or happy for you, Ben. That spoke to me as well. And then Ben said, thank you to Terry. So
Like,
I'm also going to say this is also something Mandee teaches. So she might, I don't know if she's ever done this, but it's one of the ways that I tell my people, like, there's a lot of people that are, you know, higher into the energy, I guess is what I'm going to say. And a lot of people don't necessarily see it that way because they don't know how to use it. But I tell people to start with their hands and just kind of like do this over and over and over. And eventually you'll start to feel like this thing. It's almost like magnets depolarizing. It feels like it's shifting and playing, and you'll actually be able to play with your own energy. And that's part of the energy that you give and you receive. And it's all natural. It's literally natural. I did this as a kid. Sometimes I can rub the energies together like this without actually making contact and zap people. So that's something that I've always played with ever since I was a little kid. I remember me and my cousin Scott used to do that to each other, and he'd get so mad because I could naturally create static and we didn't know where it came from, but it was always there. And I was like, ah, boom. And it was so cool because sometimes you could like see that electric shock. And I was like, yes. So, because I always won. And that was the funnest thing to me. So you can play with your own energy to try to get to understand it a little bit more and feel it. And that will actually help you kind of receive energy and know when energy is being passed as well, if that makes sense.
I do it all the time, like with all kinds of different ways, but you can literally, your palms are an extension of your heart chakra. And that's a whole nother reason why your palms get super activated, Sophia, and you feel that energy come through because your heart expanded even more. And now you're downloading incredible, you know, godlike, divine, white, pure light energy, and it's flushing through you and your heart and then out to others, and your palms get activated AF. So another thing, like to add on what Crystal was just talking about, you can just kind of rub your hands together too, and like you can feel that energy in between there, but you can use it in prayer, and you can use it to do grid work, or if you're wanting to even just Reiki the river next door or whatever it is, and you can conjure up all of that heart energy, and you can hold it there and set an intention and ask your heart to extend out and ask it to, you know, place this energy to the places it deserves to or wants to travel to for the highest good.
And Heather says, I was wondering if Mandee would pull a card for me, wondering if I should make a change that is being presented to me.
Let's see. We're doing angel cards tonight, Heather. So I'm gonna keep pulling on these. Angels for Heather. Ooh. Interesting. Well, I'm curious about what this change is, but the first one that you got is move your body. Thank you, angels, for motivating me to move my energy. So they're getting a like, yes, there's movement around this. Maybe if it's actually like moving like a job or a location or something like that, they're getting like a absolutely yes, go for it, do it, it's going to help you. And not only that, but just move your energy as much as possible, like within your own body right now as you're healing and you're changing and you're shifting. The next one is to shine your light. Thank you, Uriel, for helping me to share and shine my light in the world. So important. Whatever this change is that's going on, it's an opportunity for you to share more of who you are. And sometimes our soul will pull us forward into that. And they're confirming that it's safe for you to move into that potential change. And it's safe for you to allow yourself to be seen and heard and like see if this is a stepping stone into more of what it is you want to be doing. And then last but not least, you got trust your vibes. Thank you, angels. I choose to trust my intuition and your guidance. More and more confirmation on what this is going to come through. I was teaching and I may have... Thank you. Okay. See, when I get details, I was teaching and I may have the opportunity to become associate director. So literally moving into that, you were already moving your body, you were teaching, you were already there. And literally this is for you. Like you are meant to shine your light and be a leader. If you do that, you'll be able to share even more things, more of your own light, more of your own energy in the programs that you're creating. And then last but not least, it's always your choice. You are incredibly intuitive, Heather. And if it feels in alignment and you're ready, go for it. Like, well, you know, like I always talk about, like right now I'm managing a restaurant part-time and they ask me all the time to be full-time, but I just can't right now. Like I have so much going on with our beautiful sea goddess and I had to take care of family members and I have other stuff. And for me, it's just like, not in alignment right now. However, for the right person, it would be. And like for you, if it feels in alignment and it feels like something you can do and that you would want to do, go for it. Like it's fully like supportive. But last but not least, trust your vibes. Like if your vibes tell you yes, all right. And if they tell you no, then that's okay. Or if they tell you yes, but these are my boundaries or confines, then explore that as well. So I hope that that helps, Heather. And I'm really glad that you asked that question because the angels are fully supporting you.
I love that. I love how that played out and then how it answered it right there. And it's like, boof, Mandee, validation. That we always love. I mean, like, we don't need validation because we trust in spirit. But I'm also going to say it's also fun for us to get that validation sometimes when they're like, okay, wait a second, what? And Sophia also said that she was rubbing, they did the rubbing of the hands in class. Ben says that he just watched a YouTube meditation and they said the exact same thing about learning to use your energy. It's like the easiest thing. And it was so funny because like it came so natural as a child. And it's kind of like when we're kids and we do like the guess game or whatever with our friend and we're like, okay, there's going to be a red car. And then the next thing you know, there's a red car and you think you're a witch or you're like some magical being. That was my childhood. I don't know if it was everybody else's. I was like, I did. I thought I was like, look at me. I'm like God.
You are. We're supposed to have more of those moments.
Right? That's what we're working for, guys. Be that weirdo. Embrace that. But at the same time, it's like we forget how magic we are through all of the crazy traumas and dramas of life. We just forget those magical moments where we could pick and manifest things next that were going to happen. And poof, it's right. And that elation in the moment that we give ourselves as a child and like that pat on the back, like we don't do that as adults. And so it's kind of crazy that we don't do that.
Well, we're not taught to, and we're taught shame on you. Like, don't be seen, don't
Yes.
be heard, don't do things like that, you know? So we have a lot of unconditioning to do, but we're getting there.
So Terry says, Crystal, could you please let me know who is with me if you have the time? I'm going to tell you have several people with you right now. I am going to say that I don't think you have, one of the people that I'm receiving with you are not a family member. This is a gentleman that would have either been in that same location prior, like your house prior to you living there. However, I don't feel like it was your actual house. I think there was like a homestead or a farmhouse or something close to your house because they're showing me this like field type situation where I feel like there used to be another house on that place. I am just going to say I don't necessarily know that it's somebody that haunts you because I say haunt because hauntings to me are spirit that sticks around and don't go away. Okay. Spirit has the ability to go, stay, come, whatever it is that they want to do. That's not a haunting. That's just spirit popping in and saying, hey. And so when I say that he's around, it's not necessarily because he's haunting you. I just think that he finds solace in the location and what's been done with that chunk of land kind of since then. So I think he kind of comes and goes. And the reason I say that I think you have several people around you all at once is because there is a man that is claiming to be a father figure, but he's a grandfather on dad's side of the family. But I don't necessarily know that he's your grandfather because he's almost making me feel like he would be a spouse or an ex-spouse type of a situation because there's a lot of love being presented to you from the outside of the family. And when I get it from the outside of the family, that means to me that this is somebody, once again, that's kind of removed from you. However, the reason why he also wants to give love from the outside of the family is probably a little bit in tune with what it was that you said earlier before, in the sense that you're having a hard time probably with some conflict, relationship conflict, some sort of boundary setting, some form of discontent within the family structure itself when it comes to some sense. And so it may seem to you like people are looking at you one way. However, I don't necessarily feel like that's the full interpretation of what's going on. I think there are people involved that just don't want to see. So it's not necessarily to attack you or think whatever. I think that they're just not looking. I don't think that they're paying attention. And so they're just not diving in deep. And And this is why I've never answered this online, because it's going to open up a can of worms for you, honey. You ask a question. What they're doing is they're pulling up the rug. And when I get that, that means to me that somebody's family system has a hard time kind of bringing things to the surface and actually addressing situations. And so they're giving it to me like people kind of sweep things under the rug. And that's the situation that's taking place. It's like a revolving door. It keeps happening in different ways with different people over the same type of things. It's like a cycle of family. And so what they're doing is they're making me feel like there are situations, and you probably think that you're louder than what you are. Because I think that you speak from a place sometimes of like hurt or frustration or something along those lines. And they're almost making me feel like what they want you to do is understand that all of those things are wonderful. You can feel those feelings, but they want you to take a step down beyond that and really speak from a place of heart, because that's when the resolve is actually going to happen. And it's going to happen one of two ways. It means people are going to meet you where you need to be met, and they're actually going to hear you and receive you, or they're not. And then that means you're probably going to have to take some deeper looks into what boundaries really are and what we want for our life going forward. But with that being said, they're also simultaneously taking a step up, which means that you have good things taking up place in your life today. And so even though these things seem like crazy and chaos and all of these things taking place and stirring around you like this big tornado taking place around your head and not knowing what to do with it, just like a tornado, it's going to stop. All at once, it's going to stop. So it might seem heavy now. It might seem scary now. It might seem like you're living your life in the cellar right now. But just like every storm, it's going to stop. And so you just have to have patience with the things that are on the surface right now that can be seen and what other people can see. And you're just kind of going to have to let that storm settle itself, because it's not your storm really. It's a whole lot of other storms that kind of came before you, and they're just now starting to pick up dust. And so be patient with yourself, be patient with life, be patient with other people, be patient with conversations, be patient in all of these things. You have a plethora of people, because what happens when we're, and Mandee can attest to this, I'm sure, if you're having issues or miscommunications with somebody, it's not just your somebodies that are going to be around you. It's also their somebodies, because all spirit works from the highest good of all concerned. They want us all to be happy. So they can't just deal with you and focus on you. And so this may not necessarily be all of your people. I don't think half of them are. I think you have a full house, because there's a lot of individuals that play here. There's a lot of people healing, growing, receiving, and going their separate ways and finding what's the best match for them. And we really just have to let them figure it out. Let them figure it out. And then if they want to talk, they want to talk. If they don't want to talk, they don't want to talk. It's okay, because sometimes space is the best thing we can do. And sometimes in that space is when we come to terms with the chaos taking place around us, the best way, shape, or form. And that's how they're presenting it to me. I don't think it's just one person. I think you got poppers in and outers. And it depends on who we're working with, talking to, what's happening, job, work, school, this person, aunt, uncle, friend, coworker. It's like you're just this magnet for energy. And so I'm sure there's a lot of things happening for you. It seems like there's a lot coming to the surface, but it is all for your highest good. And if you can just hold up a second, you're going to see why it was. So give yourself some space right now. Like really give yourself some space and realize that there's a lot of people working for your highest good, not even your people. That's probably why they don't feel right to you. They don't feel right to you. They don't feel comfortable to you, because you don't know half these people, but they're there to support you too. Because that mouth of yours that gets you in trouble, that you think, that's actually one of your most beautiful qualities, because your mouth speaks a lot of truth sometimes. I just think we need to pull back maybe sometimes how we say it, because they're making me feel like you're a little bit like me. And sometimes I'm a little saucy for myself. So I know I'm saucy for others. We got to meet people with love too all the time. So just keep that in mind. And if you're doing it with love, like Mandee says, then you're doing it right. Sophia says, oh, I wanted to mention this. I saw a TikTok about lucid dreaming, and to ask your dream characters what day it is and watch what happens. The night I did, I asked my dream husband what day it was, and he looked at me like I was crazy, then confused because he couldn't answer. Just then I was like, Yes, I did it. And then I woke up, and then another layer of the dream happened. So I was lucid dreaming within another dream. It's like the dream realm didn't want me to win. I love that. Love that. Mandee, do you lucid dream? Oh, you're muted.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I do. I've always lucid dreamed, and I didn't know like I was the weird one until like I told this story. Like I tell this often if you've heard it before, but like I was in 4th grade, and I think we were standing out at recess, and this one kid was talking about like what a scary dream he had. I'm like, well, why didn't you just wake yourself up? And it was like one of those moments where like everybody in the circle was like and like looked at me, and I was like why don't you guys wake yourself up? And they were like, you wake yourself up? I'm like, I always know I'm dreaming. You don't know you're dreaming? And I didn't know it was called lucid dreaming. And that's the cool thing. I can like go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and like come back and choose to go back to the same dream or a different dream. And then when you are out there hopping around, there's several, like you can go into several different dreams at several different times and go into different spaces and places, and it's a communication for your higher self on the astral plane to connect with other spirits and cool things, as well as an opportunity to reflect and allow your higher self to give you some advice and stuff, or to like give you a little bit of a message about what's going on. So dreams can be freaky and weird because they're a combination of like outside information from inside from our higher selves and other things. But then our angels and guides will give it to us in ways that our minds can conceptualize at this time, and try to give it to us in ways that we're going to like take back from the dream and like get that kind of lesson or that information or whatever it is they're kind of sending our way. And it can be like a really weird thing, but a lot of times it's a message for you. And so I say have fun with that. Everybody is capable of it. It takes some work sometimes for sure, but everyone's capable of lucid dreaming eventually. And I always just say like thank you. Like when I wake up, and even if it's like weird, usually I'm doing something like rappelling down a ship as it's sinking or like something strange. And like I'll always wake up and just be like thank you. And I visit a lot of my past lives a lot. Like it'll be really real and like really strange, interesting things. But like it's you. It's cool. So enjoy that ride. Anybody is capable of it. And that can happen for sure. Like you can hop into like other realms in the dreamland. So keep messing around with it, keep playing with it, and know you are always safe and protected.
Absolutely, especially if you can wake yourself up and be like, you don't exist. There's some fun dreams that I have had, some demons I have come across in my dream, and I'm like, oh, bro, I have the ability to change my dreams. Boop. It's a fun experience once you learn how to do it. Miss Mandee, where can people contact you at?
SeaGoddessHealingArts.com. If you made it to the end, I always offer a 50% off coupon of all of my services. You just have to type in Mandee Live, MandeeElive, on any of my services on SeaGoddessHealingArts.com. And something cool we're doing on the 20th, about 10 days from now, an online Sea Goddess Soul Circle. It's for $11.11. And all of the Sea Goddesses are going to be offering a little something as we hold a magical and beautiful virtual soul space. So it would be amazing if you joined us. And in the meantime, please give us a like, a share, a follow. And we're so grateful for you guys. And thank you always. Yes, Sophia's excited for the 20th. She's coming.
We're excited for you.
Right. And as always, we are just so grateful. And thank you for continuing to show up. And Heather's going to be there. Yay. And, thank you for showing up for yourselves and for us, and hold the space. It's a full moon week, and it's getting darker earlier. I feel that in myself. Like it's getting darker out earlier. It's full moon vibes. It's getting a little colder in the north. So just be gentle with yourselves right now. Crystal.
Party.
Yeah, this is going to be a party.
It's a party.
Crystal, how do people get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me through Mitten Medium, or you can also find me on our YouTube channel, which is also, they do have a YouTube channel. Sea Goddess does have a YouTube channel as well. So if you're catching us on Facebook, please make sure that you go over to YouTube and like them too. But you can find me on YouTube as Spirit Speaks with Mitten Medium. I think that's my name. But I have a lot of other videos on there. I hope you all have a great, wonderful, amazing week. Take in all the things. Give yourself a hug if you need to give yourself a hug. Give yourself some Reiki energy if you need to. Open up that heart yourself. if you can. And Mandee, thank you so very much for showing up today. I know it's a busy one for you. I was like, oh, I love it. I love that she popped in her beautiful little face.
I am sorry I was down to the wire on the last minute there, but
and we love you for showing up. Thank you so much. And it was a beautiful, beautiful day. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Love you all. Thank you. Thanks, Crystal. Bye.